بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خير خلق الله نبينا محمد النبي الأمين صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وإيمانا وتوقا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Our talk and our lecture for today inshallah will be about تربية الأولاد, raising our kids على ضوء كتاب السنة, based and upon the book of Allah, the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And the book for this lecture that we will follow inshallah is Kitab تربية الأولاد على ضوء الكتاب والسنة. تربية الأولاد, raising the kids upon the book and the Sunnah. And the author is Sheikh Sa'id ibn Ali ibn Wahf al-Qahtani. And he is a scholar in Saudi Arabia. He was born in Abha, which is the southern part of Saudi Arabia. And he was born in 1953, which is 1372 according to the Islamic Hijri calendar. And he started his life in a village. He was in a village and he was a shepherd, as all of the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did, which is being a shepherd. So he was a shepherd, and then he started the elementary school, and he ended up being in Jami'atul Imam Muhammad Musa in Riyadh, the capital of Saudi Arabia. And he did his bachelor's and master's and also his PhD in that Jami'atul Imam Muhammad Musa in Riyadh, which is the capital of Saudi Arabia. And he has a lot of books, different books about the Salah, the Tawheed. And one of the very, very books that I always remember is Hisn al-Muslim. Hisn al-Muslim, this book, The Protection of Muslim, that has all of the adhkar, all of the prayers that you need throughout your life. When you leave your house, when you enter your house, when you purchase something new, when you put on your clothes, when you intimate with your spouse, every single thing you do in your life, there's a certain dhikr you say. So this book, which is Hisn al-Muslim, has all of the adhkar that you will need throughout your life. And I remember when I was in 4th grade, or maybe in 5th grade, in Saudi Arabia, they used to, in Makkah al-Mukarramah, they used to do like competition for the students to memorize this book. And alhamdulillah, I memorized a lot of it, and I always remember this shaykh, and I'm in love with him, because his book, I memorized it when I was in 4th or 5th grade, and also I remember his name was the reason for my class to win a school competition. In Saudi Arabia, what they do, they arrange competition between the classes, 1st, 2nd, all the way to the 6th grade in the elementary school. And the contest is that the teacher of the class chooses 3 students and they represent the class. And then different questions from different corners of the knowledge of the ilm will be thrown and they have to answer the questions. So it was our class, the 4th grade and the 6th or the 5th, I can't exactly remember. So all of the questions, we answered them, it was a tie. So now they throw in a question, whoever answers faster is going to be the winner. So subhanAllah, they asked, who is the author and the mu'allif of Kitab Hisn al-Muslim? Immediately say, Sa'id ibn Ali ibn Wahf al-Qahtani, and we won the competition. So I always, when I read or see his name written in a paper, I feel happy. And also there's another book, a great book that he has, which is Ad-Du'a. This book has all of the dua that's in the Qur'an and the authentic ad'iyah, the authentic prayers that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam said. So you can read the book and memorize them, and we know that the ad'iyah, the prayers of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam were blessed because he was given Jawami' al-Kalim. Jawami' al-Kalim meaning that he say very short words, but they have a lot of meanings. So his ad'iyah, his dua is blessed. So this book, we should read it and memorize and pick a lot of ad'iyah that we can use when we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Paying attention that when you pray, you are supplicating to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you should not limit yourself to the ad'iyah that's in the Qur'an and the Sunnah. You should go further and pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you whatever you wish and you want in this life. Because the dua, you are talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala understands all languages. Arabic, English, Hindi, African languages, all languages, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala understands them. So when you pray, you want to pray in the language that you understand, and supplicate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will get you whatever you ask Him. But at the same time, you have to mix it with the ad'iyah from the Qur'an and the ad'iyah from the Sunnah, because all of these ad'iyah talks about very important things in life, like guidance, that is, sustenance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and success in this life. So this Shaykh is very, very great Shaykh in Saudi Arabia, and his book is very beneficial. And we're going to do chapter 9 and chapter 10. Chapter 9 that talks about an-nafaqa, spending and providing for your kids. And then chapter 10 that talks about at-tarbiyah, how to raise them and how to teach them and how to give them the Islamic and the Shari'i knowledge. So he said in the beginning of this chapter, meaning that the 9th chapter, which is providing for the children. أولا أهمية النفقة على الأولاد في الشريعة الإسلامية. The first one, he will talk about the importance of providing for your children in الشريعة الإسلامية. In Islam, this is something very important and mandatory and wajib upon you. Because before you have a kid, you have to know there is set of rules and regulations and responsibilities that you have to fulfill when you have that kid. So you have to think 100 times about it. And before talking about raising our kids upon the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we always have to choose the right spouse. That's the first element, and that's the most important one. If you are a hard-working person in terms of teaching your children, but your spouse is not, it's not going to pay off. So because of that, you want to choose the right zawja, the one who will listen to you, the one who will cooperate with you, the one who knows the importance of Islam, the one that believes that Islam changes life and makes you a better person. And it goes to the other side. Even the woman, she doesn't get married to anybody. Not just because he has a good job and he's making good money, so she should marry him. No, she has to check his religion. How good he is in terms of practicing Islam. Is he someone who believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and implements Islam in his life? Or he is someone who just claiming to be Muslim, but he's totally different in his action and in the way that he practices Islam. So this is the first labina. This is the first base that we base our marriage and our life on. To choose the right person. When you have the right zawja or the right zawj, bi'idhnillah, your partner will help you to raise your children upon the book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and your children to be good Muslims and very beneficial to the whole ummah and to the whole humanity, all people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created. So he says, قال رحمه الله من حقوق الطفل في الشريعة الإسلامية حقه في الإنفاق عليه ما دام صغيرا غير قادر على الكسب. One of the rights of your children upon you in الشريعة الإسلامية, in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is providing for them as long as they are young and they cannot work and they cannot make money. So that's an obligation upon you. You cannot have any excuse to say, I'm not going to provide for my children. You have to. It's an obligation. It is an obligation. You know, and this encourages you to work and not to be lazy. To provide for them, you have to be a hard worker. But unfortunately, some Muslims, they like the easy money, the free money. They just want to rely upon the government. They want to go to the masjid and be begging people. Now, you have to work. You have to provide. You have to be a hard-working person. This is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you, and this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you. You have to be ready to work. Life is not easy. In this life is a test, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لِيَبْلُوكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا, to test you who has better deeds. That's what this life is all about. Full of tests from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you have to be ready to work and to provide for your children, and this is an obligation upon you. No excuse. There is no excuse, except if you cannot work. So then, inshallah, as the Shaykh will explain, your relatives. Because in Islam, we believe in the family. This is one of the things that in the US people do not do. The family is one thing, and this is how we become very strong. We cannot rely upon the government. The government is providing today. Do you have the guarantee tomorrow it's going to provide? You don't know. And you may end up being in a country that the government is so poor. So because of that, the family has to be together. If the father cannot provide, so the uncle, someone who is related to the father biologically, provide for the family. So because of that, the relationship in Islam does not finish. It stays forever. Not because the child is 18, so he goes his own way. No. He's still your child, and he has to obey you and listen to you as a father, and you have to be taking care of him and guiding him through what's right and guiding him to be a better person. But in the States, once he's 18, that's it. He gets his own apartment and starts his own life. No, in Islam, that doesn't finish. That does not finish. The family is something that will never finish. The biological relationship is something that will never finish. And because of that, the Prophet Muhammad said, "من أراد أن ينسأ له في أثره من أراد أن ينسأ له في أثره ويفتح له في رزقه فليصل رحمه." Whoever wants to have a longer life and also to have wealth that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives and provide for him, he has to be very good to his kinship, to those who are related to him biologically. Your uncle, your grandmother, your mother, your father, your brother, no matter what happened, that relationship should not be hurt and damaged. Has to be very, very strong. It has to be very, very tight. So this is very, very important. So it is wajib, it is mandatory, it is obligatory upon the father to provide for his children. We're not talking about the mother, we talk about the father. The father has to provide. Because in Islam we want the mother to stay home. So this way the family could be managed properly. If both are working, who's going to be taking care of the kids? And also we have a lot of challenges in the US. You know, we have a lot of people have a lot of bills and the life is not easy. So the best way to form your family is that the wife to stay home and the husband works and provide. This way everything goes smoothly and goes correctly and goes the right way. Food is ready on time, the house is clean. When they come home, they have someone who will do the homework with them. You know, so this way everything will be managed correctly and properly. But if both are working, so that's a disaster. I'm not saying in all cases. Some people, mashallah, tabarakallah, they are blessed. They both working and at the same time taking care of their children, but it's not easy. It is not easy. So because of that, Islam encourages the father to work and the mother to stay home and to take care of the home and to provide, to take care of the home and to provide very good environment at home for the father and also for the children to be happy and successful, inshallah. So then he says, وتستمر نفقة الصغير على أبيه أو على ورثته حتى يحصل على مال أو يكبر ويكون قادما على التكسب. So this obligation, which is that the father has to provide for his children, is going to is going to continue all the way to the moment that this child becomes an adult and he becomes capable of providing for himself. Once that happens, so it is not an obligation upon the father to provide for the children. But we have a difference between a female child and a male child. There's a difference between when you have a daughter and when you have a son, when they become adult. So the Sheikh says, أما إذا كبر الصغار وهم فقراء أو كانوا غير قادرين على الكسب فإما أن يكونوا ذكورا أو إناثا فإن كانوا ذكورا فلا تجب نفقتهم على أبيهم إلا إذا كانوا عاجزين على الكسب بسبب مرض أو غيره فإن قدر أحدهم على اكتساب شيء لا يفي بنفقته كان على الأب أن يكملها له. When they grow up, they are adult now. Okay? And when we say adult in Islam, does not mean 18 years old. Who can tell me who's an adult Islamically? And when we say an adult, is someone who will be held accountable for any action he or she does. Meaning that they will be considered sinful when they commit sins. If a person is not an adult Islamically, if they commit a sin, they're not sinful. And in the hereafter, they're not going to be held accountable for not praying, for example. If someone is 7 years old or 5 years old and they're not praying, or let's say they curse, that's not a sin to them. It is sin, but it's not going to be considered in the hereafter something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will hold them accountable for. Once they become adults, Islamically, they curse, they will be judged in the hereafter for that bad deed. If they're not praying, they're going to be judged in the hereafter for that bad deed. If they are stealing or doing anything prohibited Islamically, they will be held accountable in the hereafter for doing such thing. But when we say an adult Islamically, baligh, what does that mean? Who can tell me who is a baligh Islamically? Yes.
Puberty and understanding right from wrong.
Puberty, but that's why we have to be very specific. A good answer. It's a good answer. Puberty is a part of it, but we need to be very precise. What does that mean exactly? Yes.
So a female, when she has her menses,
yes.
she becomes an adult then. For a male, once he gets hair in his pubic region, he reaches the age of 15.
MashaAllah, that's great. That's according to that Madhab Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. So generally speaking, for someone to be, MashaAllah, we have a sheikh in here. He should be the speaker. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. That's a very excellent and good answer. And also the answer is good, MashaAllah. Jazakallahu khairan. So for someone to be an adult, one of three things has to happen. One of three things has to happen. Either to be 15, when someone is 15, is an adult, Islamically. Okay? Or al-ihtilam, meaning that the ability, or the age of puberty, the ability to release the semen. If someone reaches that, so he's an adult. And that could happen to someone who's maybe 12, 13, 14, 15. It depends on that race, the place you live, and your genetic, So whenever that happens, even if the child is 11, so he's an adult. Because being able to realize that means you're someone who understands the life and also understand the harm and the benefit, understand the good and bad. So if that happens, even if it's less than 15, he's an adult Islamically. Okay? And number three, the pubic hair. If that also happens to the child, so he's an adult. So one of three things, we're not talking about all of the three to happen. One of them, either releasing the semen, meaning that reaching the age of puberty, or having the pubic hair, or being 15. One of these things, if it happens, the child is an adult. For female, they have the fourth sign, which is having their menses. Whenever the girl is menstruated, she's an adult. So that obligation goes all the way to the moment they become an adult. So when that happens, you do not have to provide for them. But the Sheikh says, provided that they are able and capable of making money, of working. They could be 15, but they're not able to work. We could be living in a country that someone who's 15 can never work. Okay, in the US, they may be able to work. It depends on the state. Some states it's illegal to work if you have to be at least 16. I don't know the law anyway. So if they're able to provide for themselves and they're adult, so the father does not have to provide for them anymore. They take their own responsibility, but the fathers still have to be guiding them, teaching them, showing them the right thing to do, and showing them the tariqul khayr, the way of good always. And he is talking strictly about the males. If you have a son and he's able to work, so you don't have to provide for him anymore, but you still have to be guiding him and showing him the right thing to do and showing him tariqul khayr. If she's a female, no. You can't force her to go into work. You have to provide for her. Because that's dangerous for her. That's dangerous for her to be out there working. Anything could happen to her. She may go astray. She may be harmed. Anything could happen to her. And we're talking about from the perspective of Islam. And at the same time, we have to understand the environment that we are living in. So based on the country you live in, things will be different. Sometimes, or in most cases, it's hard for the father, if he has maybe 10 or 8 or 5 kids, to provide for all of them, taking care of all of their financial affairs. That's really, really, really hard. So if this is the case, so the girl may need to work, or the daughter may need to work, but the father should not force her to work. Cannot force her to work. He has to provide for her as his daughter. That's her Islamic right upon him until she gets married. But as I said earlier, life is not easy, and things may get out of control, and things may not be easy on the father, and he may not be able to provide. So in this case, she might have to work and to support herself and to support the family. But if she is to work, there is rules or regulation. She has to find a job that's halal. As a Muslim person, you can't do anything prohibited. And also she has to make sure this is a job that's not will affect her honor and affect her chastity. You know, a job that will keep her Islamic value. And that's the value of a Muslim woman, that she's not for everybody. She's only for her husband. Now, anybody can enjoy her and see her body, you know. So she has to make sure that this job is a job that is Islamically allowed and is going to help her and support her to protect her honor and her chastity and not to lose her Islamic value. So this is very, very important. But mainly, the father should keep his daughter home, providing for her until she gets married. Wallahi, that's better for her. And you guys, and you know better than me. You guys were born in the States, and you know everything going on. And if a woman goes out, she is prone to the fitna. She is prone to the misguidance. But at the same time, we have to know that there's difficulties, there's hardship. So it depends on the situation, but make sure, do your effort to keep her home. Wallahi, that's better for her until she gets married. Wallahi, this is how she will be a pious woman. This is how you will be proud of her one day when she gets married. She will be a good Muslim that will take care of her kids and bring a very good generation of Muslims that will be responsible, and there will be upon Islam and implementing Islam in their lives. This is very, very, very important. Okay, now he's going to talk about the proofs and the adillah from the Kitab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, about what he's talking about. He said it's wajib. You can't say it's wajib, it's haram, it's makruh, it's mustahab without a proof. That's the beauty of our religion. And any speaker who's speaking, we don't care who is he. He is alim, scholar, he is imam, or we don't care. Whatever he says, we need the proof. Give us the proof. Where we can find that in the book of Allah, the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or how the Salaf al-Salih explain it. We need to have the proof. You cannot just sit and give us statements. You're not prophet. So the mu'allif, the author, is upon manhaj al-Salaf, and he has upon the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he's going to give the adillah from the book of Allah and then the adillah from the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So he said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Baqarah, وَالْوَالِدَاتُ يُرْضَعْنَ أَوْلَادَهُنَّ حَوْلَيْنِ كَامِلَيْنِ لِمَنْ أَرَادَ أَنْ يُتِمَّ الرَّضَاعَةَ وَعَلَى الْمَوْلُودِ لَهُ رِزْقُهُنَّ وَكِسْوَتُهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. وَالْوَالِدَاتُ, mothers, يُرْضَعْنَ أَوْلَادَهُنَّ, they breastfeed their children حَوْلَيْنِ كَامِلَيْنِ, for 2 years. لِمَنْ أَرَادَ أَنْ يُتِمَّ الرَّضَاعَةَ, for whoever wants to complete the term of breastfeeding, which is 2 years. But the mother can breastfeed for less than that. But that's the complete term, to breastfeed the child for 2 years. وَعَلَى الْمَوْلُودِ لَهُ رِزْقُهُنَّ, وَعَلَى الْمَوْلُودِ لَهُ, the one who is the child is born for him, which is the father. رِزْقُهُنَّ وَكِسْوَتُهُنَّ, providing for them. رِزْقُهُنَّ meaning that providing food for them. كِسْوَتُهُنَّ, providing clothes for them. And Allah Azza wa Jalla is talking about providing in general, providing the essential needs for them. And that time, that's the essential need, because they don't have bills, they don't have a lot of things that we need now. The main thing they need in that time is food and clothes. And the life was very, very simple. But now, life is different. We have other essential things that has to be provided for the child. And this is qiyas. We take from the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we base what we say based on that. Allah is talking about to provide essential needs for them in their lives. And now the life is different, so we have to provide the essential things and needs for them. And Allah strictly talking to the father. وَعَلَى الْمَوْلُودِ لَهُ, the one who is the child is born for, which is the father. The biological father has to provide that for the child. So this is the dalil from the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Sunnah of the Prophet. Yeah. Say it again. Say it again. Yeah, it's in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 233. 233, Surah Al-Baqarah. It's in the middle of the page. Yes. And one funny story about this ayah, and I always careful when I read this ayah. Al-Imam in Makkah al-Mukarramah, he's reading this ayah, but his attention was not with him. Allah says, وَالْوَالِدَاتُ يُرْضَعْنَ أَوْلَادَهُنَّ. Mothers breastfeed their children. But he says something different. He said, وَالْوَالِدَاتُ يُرْضَعْنَ أَزْوَاجَهُنَّ. Mothers breastfeed their husbands. So that's why I'm always careful when I read this ayah. SubhanAllah. So this verse, this ayah is in the middle of the page and it's verse number 233 in Surah 2, Al-Baqarah. And then from the Sunnah, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said in a hadith reported in Sahih al-Imam al-Bukhari عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أفضل الصدقة ما ترك غنى. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, the best type of sadaqah ما ترك غنى, the sadaqah that will leave behind some money. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam merely is talking about not to take all of your money and to give it as sadaqah. So what's going to be remain for your family? So he said the best sadaqah is the sadaqah when you give it, you still have something for your family. So that's the best sadaqah. Making 4,000 a month, and they're making fundraising for the masjid, or there is a need to help someone. I can't say, okay, I'm going to take all of the 4,000 and give it to. I have to be reasonable. If I give the 4,000, what am I going to do? I'm going to end up loaning money from others. In Islam does not encourage you to loan money except if you have to. Except if you have to. Because loan, debt, Islam does not joke with it. It is not something that you can do easily. Because in the hereafter, if you do not pay back whatever you have taken from people, Allah will never forgive you till that person who you owe forgives you. And a man was brought to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to perform salatul janazah for him. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam refused to do that. Sallu ala sahibikum. Pray for your friend. I'm not praying for him. Why? Because he owes 3 dinani. Just 3 dinani. $3. Because when he got the money, he didn't make the plan to pay it off. You can't joke with people's property, people's money. No. Before you take it, you have to have a plan in place. How am I going to pay it back? So he said, no, I'm not going to pray for him. So Abu Talha radiallahu anhu said, Salli alayhi ya Rasulullah wa alayhi dayna. Perform the salah, O Prophet of Allah, and O pay off his debt. And then the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam did salah. Abu Darda, I'm sorry. And then the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam performed salatul janazah for him. So it is very, very important. So when you give the sadaqah, you don't want to give all of your money. Be generous. I'm not saying you don't give much. Give as much as you can, but be reasonable, and you have to keep something for your family. You have to keep something to survive with. If I'm making $1 million a month, I can give $50,000. I can give up to $500,000. I'm not going to be poor. Still have a lot of money. So you have to be reasonable, and you have to always not to harm yourself and harm your family. And the best sadaqah, as inshallah the author will talk about, is the sadaqah you give to your family. Providing for your family is sadaqah. It's sadaqah. It is mandatory and at the same time sadaqah. But that related to the niyyah. That, we do it naturally. This is how human beings live. You have family, you have to provide for them. But for us as Muslims, the story is different. You have to make the niyyah. I'm doing this for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm doing this because it's wajib. And that's going to make you work hard. That's going to make you work hard. Always strive to provide for your family. So, and the Prophet Muhammad said, Dinar anfaqtu ala armala. A dinar, you give it to a widow. That's in need. وَدِينَارٌ أَنْفَقْتَهُ عَلَى مِسْكِينٍ. And 1 dinar you give to a miskin, to a needy person. وَدِينَارٌ أَنْفَقْتَهُ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. And a dinar you spend it in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَدِينَارٌ أَنْفَقْتَهُ عَلى أَهْلِكَ. And 1 dinar you spend and you give to your family. أَعْظَمُهُنَّ أَجْرًا الَّذِي أَنْفَقْتُهُ عَلى أَهْلِكَ. The one that gives you more reward, the one that you give to your family. So that's the sadaqah. But we always have to keep track of our niyyah. You do this for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm working to provide for your family, to fulfill this obligation that is upon me. So the Prophet Muhammad said the best sadaqah is the sadaqah that when you do it, you have something left for yourself and your family, and you will not be harmed, and inshallah you're going to keep living peacefully and successfully, inshallah. And then he said, وَالْيَدُ الْعُلْيَا خَيْرٌ مِنَ الْيَدِ السُّفْلَى. Allahu Akbar. الْيَدُ الْعُلْيَا خَيْرٌ مِنَ الْيَدِ السُّفْلَى. The hands that up is better than the hands that's down. And he's talking about the hands that's up, the hand that's always working, does not go down and beg people. It's better than the hands that's always down and it's back. And he's talking about yadul ulya, the hand that gives. Because when you give someone, usually you're the giver and he's the receiver. Your hand will be, above the hand of the person who's begging you. So the Prophet said the hand of someone who gives is better than the hand that's down and is taking. So you always should work. You always have to work. You always have to be very, very strong. Provide for yourself. Do not be weak. And that's why you find in the Arabic culture, and I'm talking strictly about the Arabic culture. I don't know about other cultures of Muslims. We have different cultures. It is not easy for someone to take something when you give them. Always people don't want to take anything. I want to have izzah. No, I don't take from you. I'm going to provide for myself. I'm going to rely upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when you go to other cultures, people like free money. If that's not right, if it's something that we have to change, also to have izzah, to be very strong. No, we don't take from people. We give. Because we are strong, we rely upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is very, very important. Ibda biman ta'ud. The Prophet Muhammad said, Ibda biman ta'ud. When you give the sadaqah, start with those who you provide for. This is how you do the sadaqah. That your family are comfortable getting everything they need, everything is good, and then you give sadaqah. Not letting your family starving and you just giving others. That's not right. That's not right. And unfortunately, we have such practice in some cultures, some Muslim cultures. People want to show to others that we are generous and we have money. So when someone that's not a part of his family come and ask him and beg him, he gives them. And he doesn't give to his family. Why? For people to be praising him and saying that he's generous. That's the You're not doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Prophet Muhammad said, وَابْدَأْ بِمَنْ تَعُودُ. Start with someone who you provide for. Your children, your wife, and those who you are mandatory and wajib upon you to provide for them. So this is very, very important. And then تقول المرأة إما أن تطعمني وإما أن تطلقني ويقول العبد أطعمني واستعملني ويقول الابن أطعمني إلى من تدعني. فقالوا يا أبا هريرة سمعت هذا من رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال لا هذا من كيس أبي هريرة. So then another segment of the hadith is said by Abu Hurairah. So in this in Sahih al-Bukhari we have the same hadith narrated in Sahih in Musnad Imam Ahmad that people ask Abu Hurairah man ta'ud, who you provide for. So that he said al-mar'a, meaning that your wife, she will tell you إِمَّا تُطْعِمَنِ وَإِمَّا تُطَلِّقَنِ. Either you give me or you divorce me. You have to provide for me. At home, I'm not working. And then also your slave, he will say, feed me and then I can work for you. Feed me and then let me work for you. And I want to point out something very, very important about slavery. When we read the Qur'an, when we read the Sunnah, the Ahadith, we find this word a lot. Malakat aymanukum, those who you own. Freeing a slave. Does Islam promote slavery? And that's what's been said out there in the media. Is this something that Islam encourages us to do? To have slaves? This is not right. Why? We have to read and understand the history and understand what happened in the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So enslaving people, this is something that exists before the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He did not introduce that to humanity. Arabs were enslaving each other. There is two big empires in the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is Romans and Persians. And wars always, whenever the war finishes, the winner is going to enslave those who they defeat. That's the system. So now the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a prophet, and he's a leader for the Sahaba, for the believers, and he is going for wars, and he has enemies fighting the Muslims. If the enemies win Muslims, they're going to enslave Muslims. So the Muslims have to do the same thing in order to put fear in the heart of the non-believers not to fight the Muslims. If they know when I win and defeat you, I'm not going to enslave you, they're going to come back tomorrow, the day after tomorrow and fight me. So because of that, the Prophet Muhammad doing the same thing. He did not introduce that to humanity. That was the system of the whole world. Anywhere, any culture, anywhere you go, they do it. And even in Europe, they used to enslave someone. If he owes money, he cannot pay it off. You become a slave for that or for the person whom you owe. So the Prophet Muhammad did not introduce it. But when we as Muslims, the Muslims, when they enslave someone, how do they treat the slave? That's the question. And those who are non-Muslim, how do they treat the slave? Big difference. You know, the Prophet Muhammad was doing this as, you know, a defense plan. They're doing the same thing to us. That's what happens anywhere. You have a war, and the first army wins is going to enslave the other army. So they have to do the same to put fear in the heart of the non-believers not to fight them. But when they enslave them, how do they treat the slaves? Always Islam encourages us to free them. So that's why when someone does any sin, so the expiation is to free a slave. For example, kafaratul yameen, when you swear by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and then you did not fulfill your oath, the kafara is to free a slave, or to feed 10 needy people, or to give them clothes for 10 needy people. If you cannot do none of this, then you fast 3 days. So Islam encourages always to free slaves, and that's what the Sahaba were doing. They were freeing them, especially when they become Muslim. You know, and at the same time, if you choose to keep them as slave for you, you have rights that you have to. They have rights. You can't treat them as animals. The Prophet Muhammad said, "Ikhwanukum khawalukum." Your slaves are your brothers. Look at that very great word from the Prophet Muhammad. They are your brothers. They're not property. فَمَنْ كَانَ أَخُوهُ تَحْتَ يَدِهِ فَلْيُطْعِمْهُ مِمَّا يَطْعَمْ وَلْيُلْبِسْهُ مِمَّا يَلْبَسْ. Whoever his brother is under him. Look at the very pure and clean and beautiful word from the Prophet Muhammad. Whoever has his brother under him. He does not say whoever has a slave. So he is your brother. فَلْيُطْعِمْهُ مِمَّا يَطْعَمْ. Feed him the same type of food you eat. وَلْيُلْبِسْهُ مِمَّا يَلْبَسْ. And then give him the same type of clothes that you are wearing. He's just like one of your family. Like a family member for you. So Islam does not promote slavery. Islam does not encourage us. Does not promote slavery. And Islam does not. Or the Prophet Muhammad does not introduce slavery. It's something that was there. And Islam encourages freeing slaves. And now we can't say, okay, since we have ahkam of slaves, we must have slaves to implement these ahkam on the slaves. No. And some misguided people, they just find someone who's not Muslim, they capture him, he's a slave for us. That's not right. That's not Persian. That's dhulm. That's not allowed in the deed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So anyway, Abu Hurairah said, who do you, they asked him, who do you provide for? So he said, your wife. Because she'll say, either you feed me or divorce me. I'm not getting any benefit from you. And also your slave, he will tell you to work for you, you have to feed me. I'm not going to keep working without eating. So look at what Abu Hurairah is saying, to feed your slave. You know, to be nice with him. The same way you feed your wife, you have to feed your slave. And then he said, وَيَقُولُ الْإِبْلُ أَطْعِمْنِي إِلَى مَنْ تَدْعُونِي. Then also you have to provide for your child. And he will tell you, feed me, who you leaving me for. Who will be taking care of me if you're not taking care of me? If you are not taking care of me, who will be taking care of me? That's what your son will be telling you. So you have to provide for your wife and your children, and also to provide for a slave if you have a slave, you know. And I clarified that Islam does not promote slavery, but Islam teaches you how to treat your slave in case you have a slave. And we always are encouraged to free slaves if we have slaves. And also, one of the things that we have to clean our brains with, people think that slavery is always linked with blacks. And that's not true. That completely falls. And unfortunately, even among blacks, whenever the slavery word is said, they think about themselves. That's not true. Slavery happened to all races, all people from different nationalities. Arabs were enslaving each other. Slavery happened in India. Britons went to India and took some slaves and shipped them to, like, South Africa and some countries. The same thing happened to Africans. It happened to all races. So we should free our brain from this. And sometimes it's really sensitive to discuss such issue. It's simple. It's not related to one race. Zayd ibn Haritha, he was a slave for the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Was he black? He was not black. He was Arab. So slavery is not linked always with one race. You know, slavery happened to different people from different nationalities and different backgrounds. And what matters for us as Muslims is to understand now no slavery, so no way for us to be capturing people and claiming that because they didn't believe it, so they have to be slaves for us. If it happens, let's say, and also a very important point, why we still have the ahkam, the rules of slaves in the Qur'an and the Sunnah. For one reason, we don't have slavery today, right? We may have it in 50 years. It may happen again. So if it happens, we have a system in place how to treat the slaves. And we're encouraged to free them. So that's why we can't wipe it off and take it off the Qur'an, the Sunnah. No, we have to keep it. Because the evil is still here, still in this life. It could happen at any time. People start enslaving each other. They're not enslaving each other now, but it could happen again. So if it happens, we have a system in place how to treat the slaves, and we should free them. This is what Islam is teaching us and encouraging us to do. So this is a hadith from the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ explaining the importance of the sadaqah, and most importantly providing for our families. And I want to point out a very important point about Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. He is the Sahabi that narrated, no Sahabi narrated the same number of hadith as Abu Hurairah. He narrated 5,347 ahadith by himself. All of the other Sahaba, they narrated less than that. We have a lot of Sahaba narrated, like Aisha radiallahu anha. She was the wife of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, but she did not narrated that number of hadith. She just narrated 2,210. So because and Abu Hurairah became Muslim just 3 years before the death of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. So some hypocrites, some munafiqeen, accuse Abu Hurairah, saying that Abu Hurairah is lying. A lot of hadith he didn't hear from the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. How come he just was a Sahabi for 3 years and he narrated this big number of hadith? We have Abu Bakr, Abu Umar, those who became Muslim from Mecca, and they did not narrate that number of hadith. But they do not know the life of Abu Hurairah. Abu Hurairah, as he said, people were busy making money, and I was just busy following the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, learning from the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And some of them, they accuse him, he likes to eat. If someone likes to eat, is that a problem with narrating a hadith? That's funny. When you read these, like you say, well, it's funny. He likes food. We all like food. Who does not like food? Who does not like to eat? We all like to eat. That's not a problem. That's natural. And also they say because he was just sitting and other Sahaba was giving him food, so he was just sitting in the sufa with the poor and needy people to be given the sadaqah. This is not the case. He was there because he was interested in the ilm, in the knowledge of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. He can go easily and work. Everybody is working. And he was not ill. He was not sick. He was healthy. He can go and make money. Simple. But he preferred to stay in the sufa, which is a place in the Masjid al-Nabawi al-Sharif for the needy and poor Sahaba. And other Sahaba provided for them. And he did that to be just following the Prophet and taking knowledge and ilm from the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Indeed, Abu Hurairah, we always have to be, say, radiallahu anhu, making prayers for him. This big number of hadith that has ahkam rulings, if he did not do that, how are we going to have them? So, Abu Hurairah is a great Sahabi. It is a good Sahabi. In no way for us to listen to anyone who's accusing him. That's just falsehood. That's not true. And that's not right. So Abu Hurairah, all of the hadith he narrated are authentic hadith. And Abu Hurairah will never lie about the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Will say something that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ did say. Okay. Time is up, I think, right? So I'm gonna skip some hadith because we may not reach the second chapter, which is the chapter 10. So I'm gonna go. Okay, so and this is one of the very important hadith also about Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas. He was in Mecca and he was sick. So كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يعودني وأنا مريض بمكة فقلت لي مال أوصي بمالي كله قال لا قلت فالشطر قال لا قلت فالثلث قال الثلث والثلث كثير. He was sick in Mecca and the Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم visited him, Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, and then he said, should I make wasiyah that all of my money to go a sadaqah for the needy people? He said no. The Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم said no. Then he said, okay, a thuluth, a shatr, the half of it, half for my inheritors and half a sadaqah. He said no. Then he asked, a thuluth, a third. He said yes. It is still a lot. And the reason why the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said this, because if you make sadaqah with all of the money you have, your children after, what they're going to have? They're not going to have anything. So it's very, very important always to provide for our children. And that's why the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas to make sadaqah with all of his money. أن تدع ورثتك أغنياء خير من أن تدعهم عالة يتكففون الناس. So to leave your family being rich and they have money is better than letting them or leaving them poor and they go and beg people. So don't do that. Do not make wasiyah saying that. Do not make a will saying when I pass away, all of my money to go to the masjid, for example, all of my money to go to the needy people. No. You can only give the third of it. 2/3 has to remain for your inheritance. You can't go beyond, or you can't go more than the third, which is the thuluth. Okay. A lot of hadith talking about the same point. So the mu'allif, mashallah, tabarakallah, is supporting the same point, is supporting his statement of the obligation of providing for our children and the importance of providing for our children. Also, after alaykum as-salam, he mentioned ayat from the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, hadith from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He wants to support his statement with some statements from the Salaf al-Salih, the early generation of Muslims, because they were better, they were fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala better than us. So it's the Qala ibn Qudamah rahimahullah, and Ibn Qudamah is one of the fuqaha al-Hanabila, one of the fuqaha in al-Madhab al-Hanbali. He said, وَأَجْمَعُ كُلُّ مَنْ نَحْفَظَ عَنْهُ مِنْ أَهْلِ الْعِلْمِ عَلَى أَنَّ عَلى الْمَرْءِ نَفَقَةَ أَوْلَادِهِ الْأَطْفَالُ الَّذِينَ لَا مَالَ لَهُم. That all of the scholars that we know, this is the statement of Ibn Qudamah al-Maqdisi rahimahullah, all of the scholars that we know, all of the scholars that we narrated from, they have the agreement that's an obligation upon the father to provide for his children. So this is an obligation in the Book of Allah, in the Sunnah, and also supported by the statement of Salaf al-Salih. So no way for us to say or to make an excuse that we are going to provide for our children. And before making them, before you have a child, you have to have a plan of providing for them. You want to make sure they get everything, they get their education, they have a very good life, and you're going to do your best. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala controls everything, and you cannot. So sometimes you may work hard and not provide what you were planning for, but do your best. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you based on your work and your niyyah. Even if you does not succeed what you were working for, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you the reward because you did your best. And whatever is beyond your ability, you can't control it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you. Okay, now he wants to talk about the importance of teaching. How much time do I have?
7 minutes.
Okay, about 7. Okay. Now he wants to talk about ta'lim al-shar'i, the importance of the Islamic teaching for our children. It's very important to teach them the Islamic knowledge. We're going to teach them the science and whatever they need to participate in this life, but at the same time, and most importantly, we have to teach them the knowledge of Islam, because the main purpose of being in this life is to learn. Is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, also to be learning how to worship Him. If you do not have the knowledge of the Shara', the knowledge of Islam, how are you going to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And also not having sufficient knowledge, you will be a very easy prey for those who are misguided, for those who do bid'ah, to take you away from the right path. So because of that, you want to be knowledgeable, you want to learn, you want to know the knowledge of Islam. And because of that, as we are in a sick city, we have sickness in the city, the sickness of accusing people with bid'ah, and we have a Salafiyya al-Hizbiyya, which is not the right Salafiyya. If you're not a part of us, so you're not Salafi, you're not upon the Sunnah. If you're a part of us, you are, and they will be accusing people with bid'ah. They do not have any proof. So we have to teach our children to have the knowledge of someone who's like that, trying to misguide them so they know this is not right. And when we go to the scholars, go to any Muslim land and sit with the scholar, what is manhaj al-salaf? You don't need a fancy definition. It's very simple. The Book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad the understanding of the salaf. You don't need a fancy definition. You have to go to a certain masjid, certain people, they have to be pleased with you in order for you to decide. No, all of that is something that made up. It's not true. Go sit with the scholars. What do they busy you with? The knowledge. Throughout my Journey of Learn and Ilm. Al-Sheikh Muhammad ibn Ali ibn Adam al-Ethiopi. Al-Sheikh Abdul Rahman al-Ajlan. And Al-Sheikh Muhammad al-Mukhtar al-Shanqiti. He comes from Al-Madinah, comes to Masjid al-Umrah, and he gives us classes in Al-Hajj, usually in the time of the Hajj. When you go to their classes, wallahi, you do not find them talking about someone. All what they're busy with is the knowledge. They teach you the Sunnah and they teach you the Bid'ah. They don't have to tell you this person is Mubtada and don't go to him. What is your proof is Mubtada? What Bid'ah he is doing? Let's say indeed he is doing a Bid'ah. Maybe he doesn't know it's a Bid'ah. Did you give him the Nasiha? Isn't it wajib to give the Nasiha? Did you approach him and talk to him? Hey, you're making a Bid'ah. This is not right. This is not Sunnah. And he said, maybe he doesn't know it's Bid'ah. So you have to give him the Nasiha. You did not give him the Nasiha. You immediately start passing the news he's doing Bid'ah. Maybe it is not Bid'ah. You don't know. You don't have the knowledge. It is not Bid'ah. There's no agreement upon the scholars that it's Bid'ah. Someone came to my masjid al-Furqan in Common Avenue, and he had an argument with me. So he said, you guys have a lot of Bid'ah in this masjid. I said, a lot of Bid'ah? MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Just name 3. I just want you to name 3. He was quiet. Just name 3 Bid'ah that we are doing. He was not able to prove it. He said, okay, I've seen people in this masjid with beads of the tasbih. Then I asked him a question. Is there an agreement upon the scholars that the beads, the subha is Bid'ah? Sheikh al-Albani said it's Bid'ah. Sheikh ibn Uthaymeen said khilaf al-awla. If you use the misbah, you're not doing the right thing, which is using your fingers. But we can call someone who's using the beads doing the Bid'ah. So we do not have an agreement. You do not know the definition of the Bid'ah. You don't know the definition of the Bid'ah. I said, okay, I'm going to take it. This is a Bid'ah. 1. Give me 2 and 3. He was quiet. Because he was told that this is not a masjid upon the Sunnah. And they do not have a proof. That's craziness, wallahi al-azim. That's madness. People of innovation, people that's not upon the Sunnah, wallahi, they come together. And we are who we claim that we are upon the Sunnah, we are separated. We have to come together. You know, you have something against me, come and sit with me and talk to you, give me the nasiha. Go through my videos. If I have anything wrong, let me know. Well, I will take the nasiha. If it's wrong, I'll retract it. I'm not claiming that I'm a prophet. I'm going to make mistakes. But you did not give me the nasiha. So how are you going to be considering me as mubtada'? And wallahi, when you go to the mashayikh, to the ulama, there's no classification for masajid. This is masjid sunnah, Salafi, this is masjid book. Someone came to our masjid, he entered the masjid, asked me, is this a Salafi masjid? I asked him, what is the definition of a Salafi masjid? He said, I don't know. I said, how are you asking for something that you don't know? He said, I'm a new Muslim. And he told me I only can go to Salafi masjid. This is false, this is wrong, this is not right. Go to Makkah al-Mukarramah. We have masajid for Sufiyyah. It's well known that the Imam is not upon Manhaj al-Salaf. But no one scholar will tell you, do not go there and pray. They're still Muslim. No one scholar will tell you, do not go to that masjid, and scholars giving classification for masajid. Well, I had never heard it until I came to Philadelphia. That this is a Salafi masjid, this is not a Salafi masjid. Okay, let's say it's not a Salafi masjid, it's a masjid that's doing bid'ah. We're going to let them die in the bid'ah. We're going to let them drown in the bid'ah. We're not going to oppose them and give them the nasiha and teach them manhaj al-haq. So don't go there, and we just stay in our masjid. That's not right. If they're not upon the sunnah, we have to go to them and approach them and teach them the sunnah. That's manhaj al-salaf. And manhaj al-salaf, ikhwani, is action. Wallahi, it's not just a title. We have a lot of, we are salafi. They smoking. They commit zina. They, working on the street. How you are Salafi? You're not Salafi. You have to quit sins. You have to be upon the book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. You are not Salafi. Salafiyya is to be upon the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Very easy and very simple. We do not need requirements. Whoever needs this requirement is Salafi. Whoever does not need this requirement is not Salafi. That's not right. Wallahi, that's not right. And that's craziness and madness. And that's not in Manhaj al-Salaf. Al-Jarh wa al-Ta'deel, which is they busy people with. You go to the masjid, the whole khutbah, wallahi, is pathetic. The whole khutbah talking about one person. He is this and he's that. What benefit they're going to get from this? We have some new Muslims that did not know how to make wudu. They don't know how to pray. They don't know the tawheed. They need knowledge. Visit them with knowledge. Teach them knowledge. Teach them Islam. Make them better people. We have children of zina. Talk about the zina. Show them the danger of zina. Teach them what's beneficial to them. Al-jarh wa ta'deel is something was created to defend and to protect the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. When you learn ilm mustalah al-hadith, one of the things that you have to learn, al-jarh wa ta'deel. Al-jarh wa ta'deel, it means to talk about someone, whether he's a good person or bad person. Why as-salaf al-salih were doing it? We're doing it for the purpose of defending the hadith. Because after many people started becoming Muslim, they started lying about the hadith. Saying the Prophet Muhammad said it and he didn't say it. So they say we have to make rules to protect and to make sure who is right and who is not right, who is a liar and who is not liar. So they started investigating the life of the narrators, where he was born, what was his job, and what scholars he studied with, and who are his students, and then they bring his ahadith and do investigation, compare it with other ahadith from the fiqat, those who are authentic narrators. And if we see any difference, many ahadith are different, so this is not fiqat. And also they check two things, al-adala and al-dabt. Al-adala is moral character. Is he a good person? So how you, upon manhaj al-salaf, and you are committing sin. So when any scholar of jarh al-ta'deel comes down, a lot of those who claim that Salafi, he will classify them not Salafi. Because they committed sins. So they check his moral character, and then they check his dabt, his hifz, his memory. He could be a good person upon the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad, but he has a bad memory. He said next to the Shaykh says something, when he goes out, he says something different. So we don't take from such person. So that's the main purpose of al-jarh wa ta'deel. And we have certain scholars that are the leaders in this field. Not anybody can talk about that. And they do it for that purpose. Not for personal purposes. Wallahi, not for personal purposes. It's for the sake of defending and protecting the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Now al-jarh wa ta'deel is finished. The hadith, all of it are being collected in the books, and you can use that reason to be making jarh wa ta'deel. They're not narrators for that hadith, they're just regular Muslims. So there's no any point of having a class, a lecture, khutbatul jumu'ah, that you have people from different places, in different backgrounds, in different levels in Islam. You have those who are advanced and those who are beginners. And to talk about something, they're not going to benefit anything from the khutbah. They will not benefit and get anything from the khutbah. So because of that, visit them with knowledge. Teach them Islam. You have someone who you claim that he's mubtada', go to him and talk to him. Show him his bid'ah. Advise him and see what he's saying. Look at all of the scholars. Ibn Baz, rahimahullah, if anything wrong, he writes letters as nasiha. But he doesn't mention names. All of, wallahi, Shaykh Muhammad Ali Adam, his classes that I attended of Sharh Sahih al-Imam al-Bukhari, Sharh Sunan al-Nasa'i, Sharh the Mutun for Lugha al-Arabiyyah. He doesn't mention any person. He just teaches you Islam, teaches you the knowledge. Same thing, go to any other scholar. But to have a lecture, just don't go there, don't go there, go. That's not manhaj al-salaf. That's madness, that's craziness. So because of that, it's important for your child to be knowledgeable in the deen. Teach him the sunnah and teach him the bid'ah. Shaykh Muhammad Ali Adam used to give us a class in before he started Sharh Sahih al-Bukhari in Dar al-Hadith al-Khairiyah, which is the school he teaches in, and this is the school that I graduated from. So when he comes first, he teaches us about the bid'ah and the sunnah. And then we start learning about Sahih Imam al-Bukhari. Once you are knowledgeable, you know the sunnah, you know the bid'ah. Whenever you go to any masjid, any speaker speaking, you're going to know this is not right, this is bid'ah, this is sunnah. So instead of telling them, don't go to this masjid and don't go to that masjid, teach them what the bid'ah is and what the sunnah is. I believe the speakers do not know that. And because they don't have knowledge, that's why they visit them with this. They don't have visit them with knowledge. Teach them Islam. What point are they going to learn to know this is mubtada and this is, and they do not even know the definition of the bid'ah. Whether it's bid'ah mukaffira, mufassiqa, whether it's a bid'ah that there is an agreement from all of the scholars bid'ah. So we really need to teach our children the ilm al-shara'i so they can be very strong and not to be, to be driven crazy in this way. Wallahi, this craziness and this is madness. We have very good people in the city that a lot of people can benefit from this. Sheikh Ali Davis, Sheikh Abu Sajid. I don't know what bid'ah these gentlemen are doing. I don't know what bid'ah they doing. You have anything against, prove it. Prove it. So if you do not have any proof, so then what you're saying is false with batil. And you're going to be held accountable for that statement in the hereafter. So because of that, the knowledge of Islam is very important, and we have to know the right path, and we have to know that Salafiyya is something simple. Sunnah, Kitab, and understanding of the Salaf, and most importantly, implementing what you're saying in your actions. Acting upon manhaj al-Salaf, being obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being a good Muslim, following the right thing, following the teaching of the Qur'an, the teaching of the Sunnah. But not just have the title and you do not have anything inside. That's not acceptable, and that's madness. And I believe because of personal and maybe because of power, I don't know what is the reason that making them do this. Wallahi, Allah musta'an. And what makes me hurtful, wallahi, when you see those who are not upon the Sunnah in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how they are cooperating with each other, how they're working together, how they're arranging big gathering together, and we're not working together. We have any problem, we can sit on the table and discuss it. What is the problem? What the scholars said about it. And sometimes they use statements from the scholars, say that Sheikh Fulan said this about this person. But they give the Sheikh the wrong information. They're not honest when they pass the question to the Sheikh. Then the Sheikh talks about based on what they deliver to him. And the reality is different than the question and the way they deliver the information to the Sheikh. So this is sickness, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to shower His mercy upon us and to protect us from such sickness. So this is, you have a question? Yes. Assalamu alaikum.
I understand perfectly what you were saying about the Salaf and stuff like that, right? I attend the masjid and some of them don't say Salaf.
Say it again?
I attend masjid and some of them don't say Salaf, right? Which is understood. I don't separate myself from because I know we're upon Qur'an and Sunnah, right? So I did some investigation about the Salafiyya. Right?
So you want the masjid, they have to say we are Salafi, so then you consider the masjid Salafi?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just letting you know that I don't go just to Salafi masjids. One masjid. I'm just saying in general is that the Salafiyya was saying like back in the day we were saying Aqsunnah wal Jama'ah, right? And they was trying to explain that Aqsunnah wal Jama'ah, Aqsunnah wal Jama'ah, inshallah, was the planet that we was using.